Did you know that more than 40% of Americans over 60 today are dating again, remarried, or exploring companionship online? That's not a quiet trend. It's a cultural shift. For decades, people assumed that love and intimacy belonged only to the young. But the truth is, more seniors than ever are proving that connection doesn't fade with age. It simply changes shape. If you've been told that romance, sex, or companionship after 60 slows down, you're in for a surprise. The real story is not about decline, but about renewal. Think about it. Retirement opens time for new adventures. Empty nests create room for fresh companionship. Even technology, once thought to belong to younger generations, is now a bridge. Senior dating apps, video calls, and online communities are connecting older adults like never before. For many, this stage of life is the first time love feels free of social pressures. Less about proving yourself, and more about enjoying someone who understands your rhythm. Before we dive into these surprising truths, pause for a moment. If this already sparks something in you, don't just hit that hype button. It's YouTube's way of making sure senior voices rise to the top. You can hype 3 videos a week, and each one helps more people over 60 find the encouragement they deserve. Subscribe now and join a growing movement where age isn't the end of love. It's the start of a deeper, richer chapter. This is Elowen. Not a name you hear every day, right? At 67, Elowen felt invisible. She had been widowed for over a decade, her 2 grown children had moved across the country, and her evenings had become a routine of television reruns and tea in the same kitchen she'd once filled with family laughter. To her, the idea of romance seemed like a book she had closed long ago, something for a younger version of herself. But Elowen's story isn't about endings. It's about the moment she discovered that even after loss, even after years of loneliness, life still had a surprise waiting. One ordinary morning, while scrolling through her tablet, she stumbled on an ad for a senior dating site. Her first reaction. She laughed out loud. Dating. At her age. That ship has sailed, she muttered. But later that night, curiosity tugged at her. She thought, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not done yet? That tiny spark pushed her into unfamiliar territory. She uploaded a profile photo. Nothing glamorous, just her sitting in her garden holding a mug of coffee. She wrote a simple line, looking for someone to share laughter and Sunday mornings with. It wasn't about fairy tales. It was about companionship, something real. And then it happened, her first coffee meetup. She was nervous, her palms sweaty, her heart racing like it hadn't in years. She didn't expect fireworks, but what she found was something she didn't realize she'd been craving. Conversation. The man wasn't perfect, and the date wasn't either. But that single experience cracked open a door she thought had been locked forever. Elowen's story is powerful because it reflects what so many seniors feel but rarely say aloud. Loneliness is real, yes, but so is the courage to try again. And courage doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it looks like pressing sign up on an app. Sometimes it looks like saying yes to coffee with a stranger. As we follow Elowen's journey, remember this. Her story is not just about finding romance. It's about rediscovering herself, her laughter, her confidence, and her ability to connect in new ways. And here's the truth that might surprise you. In today's America, thousands of seniors are doing exactly what Elowen did, taking a leap into the unfamiliar, not to chase youth, but to embrace the joy of being fully alive at this stage of life. So stay with me, because Elowen's path isn't just her own. It's a mirror for anyone who's wondered, is it too late for me? Her answer, as you'll see, is a resounding no. Tip 1. Shattering the myths. For decades, society has whispered the same tired lines about aging and relationships. Lines that many of you have probably heard or even internalized. Seniors aren't interested in intimacy anymore. Dating is only for the young. Sex and passion fade after 60. These myths have been repeated so often that they almost sound like facts. But here's the truth. They are not only false, they're robbing people of hope, joy, and connection. Let's start with the first myth. Seniors aren't interested in intimacy. Well, Studies across the U.S. show that a significant number of older adults still value physical closeness, sometimes even more than when they were younger. Why? Because intimacy after 60 is often deeper, more relaxed, and more connected. It's not about performance. It's about presence, affection, and shared moments of joy. Then there's the second myth. Online dating is just for the young. Have you seen the numbers lately? Platforms like Our Time and Silver Singles are thriving, with thousands of seniors joining every single day. These platforms aren't about swiping left or right in a rush. They're about building real, meaningful connections with people who share your stage of life. Technology is no longer just for the grandkids. It's becoming the bridge for grandparents to rediscover companionship. And finally, the myth that sex and passion fade away after 60. This one is perhaps the most damaging. The reality: passion evolves. It becomes less about the frenzy of youth and more about emotional closeness, tenderness, and yes, fun. Seniors across the country are proving that desire doesn't retire. It simply matures. In fact, many report that intimacy feels richer because it's freed from insecurities and pressures. Here's what's trending right now. More seniors are saying "I do" for the second, or even third time than ever before. And it's not just about marriage. Travel-based companionship is booming. Cruises designed for singles over 60, group tours for widows and widowers, and senior-friendly social clubs are creating opportunities to meet people who crave the same experiences. Love and companionship are no longer confined to neighborhood potlucks. They're happening on beaches, in jazz lounges, and across new adventures. So let me ask you, have you faced these myths in your own life? Have people ever assumed that your story was over just because of your age? Drop your story in the comments. I promise someone else out there needs to hear it. Because the more we break these myths together, the more we give others permission to write a new chapter of their own. Tip 2. The new landscape of senior love. If you picture senior love as nothing more than slow walks in the park or quiet bingo nights, think again. The landscape of companionship after 60 has transformed dramatically in recent years, and it's opening doors that previous generations never imagined. Take social connection, for example. Many seniors are using Zoom meetups not just for family calls, but for virtual book clubs, cooking classes, and yes, even speed dating events designed specifically for older adults. What once felt isolating, technology, has now become a bridge to laughter, friendship, and sometimes love. In-person activities are also making a strong comeback. Across the U.S., dance studios are offering ballroom and line dancing nights for singles over 60. These aren't just about exercise. They're about rediscovering joy through movement and human connection. And let's not forget cruises. Senior-specific cruises, often marketed as companionship voyages, are giving older adults the chance to meet new people while exploring the world. Imagine sipping coffee on a deck in the Caribbean while striking up a conversation that could change your life. There's also a growing conversation around sexual health awareness. With new medications, holistic wellness practices, and lifestyle adjustments, many seniors are discovering that intimacy doesn't just survive. It can thrive well into later years. From wellness retreats focusing on reconnecting with one's body to medical advancements that reduce barriers to intimacy, seniors are finding fresh ways to enjoy closeness with confidence. But love today isn't just about romance. It's about companionship in all its forms. Across the country, friendship-first communities are sprouting up, where seniors live in co-housing or shared spaces that prioritize connection over isolation. Group travel for widows, co-living houses that blend independence with community, and local senior adventure clubs are redefining what it means to belong. This new landscape is powerful because it widens the definition of love. For some, it's dating or remarriage. For others, it's a travel partner, a dance companion, or simply someone to share Sunday morning coffee with. The point is clear. Connection after 60 is no longer limited by outdated expectations. And yet, even with all these possibilities, what happened next in Elowen's life shocked even her closest friends. She didn't just dip her toes into this new world. She discovered something that would change her story forever. Tip 3. Elowen's turning point, expanded to 2,500 characters. For weeks, Elowen stared at her dating profile and wondered if she had made a mistake. Signing up was one thing. Actually meeting someone was another. She almost canceled her first coffee date 3 separate times. And when she finally walked into that cafe, her nerves were so strong she nearly turned around at the door. The date itself. Let's be honest, it wasn't magical. The man was polite, but the conversation dragged, and at one point they spent 5 full minutes talking about the weather. Elowen went home thinking, maybe this really isn't for me. But something inside her refused to give up. She told herself, one awkward coffee doesn't mean my story is over. Then came Harold. 70 years old, retired jazz player, with a mischievous smile that looked like he knew more than he was saying. Their first meeting wasn't fireworks either, but it was different. They laughed. They teased each other. When Harold pulled a tiny harmonica from his pocket and played a few notes right there in the cafe, Elowen laughed harder than she had in years. It wasn't love at first sight, it was fun at first sight. That was the turning point. For Elowen, romance wasn't about instant passion. It was about rebuilding trust in herself, in companionship, and in the idea that joy could return. She and Harold began meeting weekly, not as a couple, but as two people rediscovering the simple pleasures of connection. Late-night jazz shows, long walks downtown, and Sunday brunches that stretched into the afternoon. But not everyone celebrated her new chapter. When Elowen mentioned Harold to her grown children, she was met with silence. Her daughter finally said, "Mom, don't you think it's too soon? Dad hasn't been gone that long." Even though it had been over a decade, their hesitation stung. Suddenly, Elowen faced a challenge many seniors know too well: finding love while navigating family opinions. This conflict forced her to ask herself, who am I living for now? My children or myself? It wasn't an easy question. Many seniors worry about disappointing their families, but Elowen realized something powerful. Love after 60 isn't about replacing the past. It's about honoring it while allowing space for new beginnings. Her journey with Harold wasn't smooth, but it was real. And that made it all the more meaningful. She didn't just find a man. She found laughter, confidence, and the courage to live on her own terms again. Tip 4. Actionable insights for seniors. Elowen's story is inspiring, but let's pause for a moment and get practical. Because while her journey may feel unique, the truth is that opportunities for love, companionship, and intimacy after 60 are more available today than ever before. The question is, how do you take the first step with confidence? 1. Know where to look. Love doesn't knock on your door, you have to open it. In the US, seniors are meeting companions in more places than just dating sites. Sure, apps like Our Time, Silver Singles, and Stitch make it easy to connect online, but don't stop there. Senior centers are thriving again with social nights, fitness classes, and art workshops. Travel clubs like Road Scholar and Singles Over 60 Tours are creating unforgettable experiences where companionship forms naturally. And if you're someone who prefers a lighter step, local libraries, volunteer groups, or even church committees can be safe and welcoming spaces to meet like-minded people. 2. Talk openly about intimacy. Many seniors avoid this subject because they feel embarrassed or fear being judged. But intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and playful. The best way to navigate it: start simple. Say, I value closeness, and I'd like us to be honest about our needs. That one sentence can open a door to deeper conversations without pressure. Remember, intimacy at this stage of life is less about performance and more about comfort, connection, and trust. 3. Balance health, energy, and expectations. Let's face it, our bodies change as we age. But that doesn't mean passion disappears. It means learning to adapt. Many seniors find that slower paces, new routines, or even wellness retreats give them more energy for companionship. For others, medical checkups, better sleep, or lifestyle shifts, like walking daily or eating lighter, make a big difference in confidence and enjoyment. The key is being realistic about what you want, while also staying open to discovering new joys you hadn't imagined. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all path after 60. Some people are looking for marriage, others for travel partners, and many simply want a companion to share daily life with. And that's the beauty of this season. You get to choose what love and intimacy look like for you. So let me ask you, which of these tips feels most doable for you? Is it trying a new group activity, starting an honest conversation, or taking better care of your health? Let us know in the comments. Your story might be the spark that encourages someone else to take their first step too. Tip 5. The surprising truth about sex after 60. Here's a truth that rarely makes the headlines. Many seniors say intimacy after 60 is not only alive, it's better than ever. Why? Because the heavy weight of youth, the pressure to impress, the rush to prove, the constant self-doubt, begins to fall away. What replaces it is something far more meaningful. Freedom. Think about it. When you're younger, intimacy can feel like a competition, tangled in insecurities about appearance, performance, or what society expects. But after 60, there's a refreshing shift. Seniors often describe intimacy as less stressful and more joyful, because it's no longer about keeping up. It's about slowing down and savoring the moment. This stage of life brings an intimacy that's layered with emotional depth. A gentle touch, a lingering hug, or even laughter over something silly can spark the same warmth as passion. Romance stops being about perfection and starts being about presence. And that's what makes it powerful. You're connecting not just body to body but heart to heart. And yes, there's room for humor too. Because let's be real, romance after 60 doesn't always look like the movies. It's not about six-pack abs or endless stamina. It's about two people who still know how to make each other's hearts beat faster, even if they're also comparing blood pressure readings over breakfast. Sometimes that shared laugh is the most intimate moment of all. Medical advances and lifestyle changes are also giving seniors more options than ever before. From new treatments that improve energy and comfort, to wellness practices that emphasize confidence and connection, intimacy is no longer something to quietly push aside. Instead, it's being celebrated as a vital, life-affirming part of aging well. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Seniors are discovering that intimacy doesn't have to look the same for everyone. For some, it's regular physical closeness. For others, it's hand-holding, sharing secrets, or simply enjoying companionship without labels. There's no rule book, and that freedom is exactly what makes it richer. So here's the cliffhanger. What makes senior companionship even more powerful than love in your 20s isn't just intimacy. It's something deeper, something that Elowen herself will discover next. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Elowen never imagined that saying yes to one coffee date would lead to such a shift in her life. Yet, as weeks turned into months, something beautiful unfolded. Not in a rush, but in the gentle rhythm that only time and experience can create. She and Harold didn't fall into the clichés of whirlwind romance. Instead, they crafted something sturdier. A partnership built on laughter, patience, and a shared openness to possibility. Their routines became small but meaningful rituals. Sunday brunch at a local diner, where the waitress already knew their order. Jazz nights in the city, where Harold sometimes joined the band for a song and made Elowen beam with pride. Road trips with senior travel groups, where they weren't just companions to each other but friends to everyone they met along the way. These weren't grand gestures. They were everyday moments stitched together into something extraordinary. For Elowen, the transformation wasn't just about finding Harold. It was about rediscovering herself. She laughed more. She walked with confidence again. She no longer dreaded quiet evenings at home, because she had someone to call, someone to share them with. The loneliness that had once been a constant companion was replaced by connection. And here's what's most powerful. Elowen's story isn't rare. Across the US, seniors are writing similar chapters, choosing to step out of the shadows of loss, fear, or hesitation, and into the light of new beginnings. Love after 60 isn't about replacing the past. It's about honoring it while creating fresh joy in the present. So let me tie this back to you. Like Elowen, you can start fresh. Maybe that looks like downloading a dating app. Maybe it's signing up for a dance class, joining a travel group, or even striking up a conversation with someone new at your favorite cafe. Or maybe it's simply sharing laughter with a friend who feels like family. Whatever form it takes, companionship is never out of reach. It only asks that you stay open. Because at the end of the day, love after 60 isn't about age. It's about courage. The courage to say yes, the courage to try again, and the courage to believe that your story is far from over. Here's the truth that often gets overlooked. Love, sex, and companionship don't come with an expiration date. They don't fade into the background just because the calendar says you've crossed into your 60s, 70s, or even 80s. Instead, they evolve, gaining a richness, a freedom, and a depth that many people never get to fully appreciate in their younger years. When you've lived a little longer, you love differently. You laugh more freely. And when you open yourself up to connection, it often feels sweeter, more intentional, and more rewarding than it ever did before. Think about it. At this stage in life, you're no longer weighed down by the insecurities or the societal pressures that shaped your 20s and 30s. There's no race to the altar, or desperate need to impress with flashy things. Instead, it's about companionship, trust, and finding someone who makes you feel alive again. That could be in romance, in deep friendship, or even in rediscovering your own joy. And that's why I want you to hear this clearly. Your story isn't over. In fact, it may be just beginning. Whether you're widowed, divorced, or simply feeling like companionship has passed you by, there is still so much waiting for you. Love after 60 isn't just possible. It can be the best chapter yet. Now, before we go, I need you to do something important. If this message struck a chord with you, don't just hit like. Hit that hype button. YouTube's hype button is one of the ways we can lift senior voices higher, so these stories aren't drowned out by the noise of everything else online. You only get 3 hypes a week, so use one right here to help make sure this video reaches every senior who needs to hear that love is still alive. And don't keep this to yourself. Share it with a friend, a sibling, or someone in your community who might be quietly wondering if their days of love and connection are behind them. They deserve to know the truth. That companionship has no age limit. Finally, let's make this more than a video, let's make it a community. Drop your story, your advice, or even just a word of encouragement in the comments below. Someone out there might read it and find the courage to take their first step toward connection. Together, we can build the most supportive space for seniors online, a place where every voice matters and every heart finds hope. Because in the end, love doesn't fade, transforms. And right now, you have the chance to transform with it.